Good evening, and before we get into our business, I'll take this moment to applaud our warden, our also Deputy Mayor Lang. So congratulations. He was inaugurated on Friday, so if I can get a round of applause for Deputy Mayor Lang. And furthermore, our clerk, Kelly Campo, received the Certified Municipal Officer designation, so a round of applause for you as well. All right, call to order. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Be it resolved that December 16th, 2024, council meeting of the Township of South Glengarry now be opened at 6:31 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Can we please rise for the singing of the national anthem? Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Councillor Jaworski?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor McDonald, for the item of the public meeting, I need to declare, as I understand, the proponents are intending to become licensees of my employer.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have a conflict of interest on item 10A for one portion of that report, so I'll step away at that point.
I believe you have to say the reason.
One of the applicants for funding is a customer of my employer.
Thank you. All right, those are good. Approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, there are not.
Moved by Councillor Jaworski, seconded by Councillor Bougie. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry approve the agenda as circulated. All those in favor? Carried. Approval of the minutes. Were there any errors or omissions noted? Moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor Jaworski. Be it resolved that the minutes of the following meetings, including closed session minutes, be adopted as circulated. Previous meeting minutes, December 2nd, 2024. Special meeting minutes, December 6th, 2024. All those in favor? Carried. We will now host our public meeting. I believe this is Mrs. Haley. Please proceed. I should have introduced the file. Zoning bylaw 06-2024 and 09-2024, Kizin and Smits.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you. I'd like to introduce to you two individuals before we get started. The gentleman to my right is Oz Kamel with MHBC Planning, representing the owner and applicant of the proposed files. As well as in our audience, we have Director of Planning for the United Counties of SDNG, Peter Young. Mr. Young is here as the United Counties is the approval authority for plans of subdivisions and will be able to answer any questions of council or the public if there are any, as well as being able to witness the public meeting, which will be helpful to going through this process. So before we get started, I am going to read to you required wording under the Ontario Planning Act. So this is a meeting under Section 34 of the Ontario Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and or make written or verbal representation, either in support of or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at this public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which is also known as the OLT. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at this public meeting or make written submissions to the council before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body may not be added as a party of the hearing of an appeal before the OLT unless there are reasonable grounds to do so. So tonight we're actually going to speak to proposed zoning bylaw amendments located on 2 parcels of property, as well as introduce a proposed plan of subdivision. So the first parcel of property that's affected by this zoning bylaw amendment is described as part of lots 13 and 14, concession 2 front, being parts 10, 11, 13, and 15 on reference plan 14R 1373, and part 1 on reference plan 14R 830 in the geographic township of Charlottenburg, now in South Glengarry. It's also located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Airport Road, and a portion of this property is addressed as 19185 Airport Road. The second parcel of property that we're dealing with is located directly to the east of this one, and it is described as west part of Lot 12 and east part of Lot 13, concession 2 front, also in the geographic township of Charlottenburg, now in South Glengarry, and is also known as 19227 Airport Road. So this map that's before you is a map that indicates the location of the subject parcels that we're dealing with this evening. You'll see above the blacked out area is a solid red line. That is Highway 401. And then directly to the left or the west side of the subject property would be County Road 27. And then this property, again, of course, is on the north side of Airport Road. This portion that's highlighted in the pink and the green represents the eastern parcel of property that we're dealing with this evening. And the reason why we've chosen this map is because this represents a severance application, and the area in pink is the area that's actually subject to the rezoning. So in this proposed zoning bylaw amendment, the applicants have asked for a site-specific zone to rezone the subject properties from rural to light industrial, exception 6, to permit the following permitted uses that are in addition to the existing permitted uses in the light industrial zone. Over and above what's already allowed in the light industrial zone, they are requesting a cardlock establishment, a convenience store, a furniture and home improvement center, garden center, greenhouse, hotel, motel, motor vehicle dealership, motor vehicle gas bar, motor vehicle rental agency, motor vehicle service station, motor vehicle washing establishment, a propane facility, and a recreational commercial establishment. Just because these items are being added to the requested zoning bylaw amendment, it doesn't mean that every type of these uses will be built, but it's possible for these type of uses to be built in the future if the zoning amendment is approved. As well as those additional uses that has been requested, for the parcel of property that's located directly abutting County Road 27, the north side of Airport Road, they are proposing a development whereby they're requesting to reduce the number of required loading spaces for a proposed food court from 3 to 2 spaces, also to reduce the number of required stacking spaces for the motor vehicle washing establishment from 10 spaces to 0, reduce the required aisle width to access a parking space at 0 to 55-degree angle from 4 meters to 3.5 meters for the proposed one-way bus parking route, to reduce the required 30 meters setback from the top of bank of a watercourse from 30 meters to 15 meters. And I realize I'm sitting here rhyming off all of these requested reductions, but that will be explained further when we show you a site plan. They also request to recognize that the lot line abutting County Road 27 will be considered as the front lot line, and the lot line abutting Airport Road will be considered as the exterior side yard lot line. All other applicable provisions of zoning bylaw 3809 as amended shall continue to apply. Now, as much as I indicated that there's proposed development on the western parcel of property, this proposed amendment would also apply to the western property. We now have a series of photos that were taken in advance of the snow, so this is a little more helpful for members of council and the public. And we'll go through these photos just to show you exactly where this is located. You'll also see in the bottom right-hand corner of the photos that there's a key map that should help you orient as to where it's located on the property. So you'll see in the first photo that this photo is taken on Airport Road looking northwest. And then the next parcel of property is also taken from Airport Road and looking northwest. In here, we also have a photo taken from Airport Road that is located just west of an existing house, and I'll show that photo in a moment. And then the next photo is taken from Airport Road, showing the parcel of property that's directly adjacent to the residential lot. This is a photo that is looking northwest from Airport Road along the west side of the residential lot. And then this photo, you'll start seeing the house. So the house that we're showing here actually fronts onto Airport Road. And all the vacant land directly behind that house would go all the way north to Highway 401. And that's where the proposed development is primarily proposed to be located. So I'm just going to go through a series of photos here, and then we'll describe the next property. Okay, so I'm going to just step back here for a second. So you can see where that silo is located. So the property in that area, and I apologize for not having a pointer to be a little more specific, but this is the eastern parcel of property that's also proposed to be rezoned. And you'll see that it's vacant at this time, the area that's proposed. Now what's before you is a concept plan. And this concept plan is for a portion of the property that is located on the northern portion of this subject property on the western side. And this would abut onto Highway 401 to the left of the photo. And at the bottom of the photo, that would be County Road 27. You'll see a hatched area in the bottom right-hand side of the photo, and that is known to be Phase 1. So what you're looking at right now is a concept plan for a proposed truck stop facility that has a variety of uses. And again, we're going to get into more of those details when Mr. Kamel provides his presentation. So at this point in time, during the public consultation process, to date, we have not received any written or verbal comments. We have circulated the application to the Raisin Region Conservation Authority, as well as the Ministry of Transportation, CN Rail, and the United Counties of SD&G, specifically the Transportation Department, as well as other legislative applicable agencies. To date, we have received comments from CN. These are very standard comments whereby that they're requesting that specific stormwater management criteria are implemented, and they also are asking for an analysis of noise to be completed if any sensitive uses will be projected as a future use of the site. And at this point, there are no sensitive uses, and this is probably a condition that we'll deal with more specifically in the plan of subdivision process. We also we've also received comments from the Raisin Region Conservation Authority, and at this point, they do not object to the zoning bylaw amendment, and they are asking for the applicant to pay the associated fees. And any other comments received from members of the public or agencies, we will be including in a future staff report that will be brought to council with a recommendation to either deny, approve, or defer the application. This property is is designated employment district in the county official plan. And in the opinion of planning staff, this proposed amendment does conform to both the official plan as well as the provincial planning statement. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the plan of subdivision and introduce it before we turn it over to Mr. Kamel. So as I mentioned, we have two parcels of property that were subject to the zoning amendment, and they are directly beside each other. But this parcel of property that's highlighted in green is the area where there's a proposed subdivision. So this parcel of property, I'm not going to get into the entire legal description as I explained that at the beginning, but this one would be partly addressed as 19185 Airport Road, and as I mentioned, it's the most western part. So the applicant plans to develop the land to facilitate the creation of a commercial/industrial subdivision that would consist of 5 blocks 4 blocks dedicated to commercial or industrial development, and 1 block dedicated to stormwater management. Access to the proposed subdivision will require 2 new intersections, one being from County Road 27 and another from Airport Road. And all the blocks will be privately serviced by septic systems and wells. So this is the draft plan of subdivision. You'll see the most largest block on the left of the screen is where the proposed truck stop is. The zoning amendment that we talked about impacts this entire parcel of property. At the top right-hand corner of the proposed subdivision, the smaller block is known for a stormwater management pond. And then you'll see to the right, 3 other blocks of land that will be for future commercial/industrial development. At this time, I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Kamel, who will get into more details of the proposed development. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haley. Good evening, Mayor McDonald and members of council. My name is Oz Kamal. I'm a registered professional planner with MHBC Planning. And I've been retained by the applicant to assist them with the planning approvals for the 2 lands, 19185 and 19227 Airport Road, here in South Glengarry. So I'm here to present the proposed development for the subject lands, receive feedback, and answer any questions that may arise. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to first provide a brief overview of the policy context governing the site, including the provincial planning statement, the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry official plan, and the Township of South Glengarry zoning bylaw. So the provincial planning statement recently came into force and effect on October 20th, 2024. The PPS, as we all are known to call it, the PPS encourages development that supports a strong and competitive economy, environmental health, and social well-being. The PPS states that settlement areas are to be the focus of growth and development that accommodate a mix of land uses and densities that make efficient use of land. The PPS also provides direction for employment lands within the province. Planning authorities must plan and protect lands designated for employment uses through providing a range and mix of employment uses to meet long-term needs. The proposal in front of you will facilitate the development of employment lands within an existing settlement area with an industrial development that will support the transportation and distribution industries and strengthen the local economy. Development on the subject lands must conform to the United Counties of SD&G official plan. As per the SD&G official plan, both parcels A and B are designated employment districts. Permitted uses in the employment districts include industrial uses, transportation and distribution uses, office uses, and other associated and ancillary, associated retail and ancillary facilities. The proposed development conforms to the employment district designation, which is why an official plan amendment is not required to facilitate the proposed development. As per the Township of South Glengarry zoning bylaw, Parcel A is zoned as light industrial ML, and Parcel B is zoned as rural RU. The existing permissions of the ML and RU zone do not allow for a full range of light industrial and highway commercial uses as contemplated through the county's official plan for the employment district. So in order to allow for the development of parcels A and B with employment uses and bring the zoning into conformity with the official plan, a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment is required to rezone parcels A and B to site-specific light industrial ML zones with additional highway commercial uses. So the development applications submitted consist of a zoning bylaw amendment for both parcels, parcels A and B, and then a draft plan of subdivision for parcel A only. The intent of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone both of the parcels to the site-specific light industrial ML zone that includes additional highway commercial uses that increases the utility of the lands, maintains compatibility with the surrounding area, and conforms to the county official plan. The intent of the draft plan of subdivision for Parcel A is to allow for the phased development of Parcel A with light industrial and highway commercial uses. That'll help provide job opportunities and industry to support the local economy. A future draft plan of subdivision will be submitted for the Parcel B to the right or to the east, which will allow for the development of the lands with similar light industrial and highway commercial uses similar to the Parcel A to the left, supported by an efficient servicing scheme and road network. So I'm going to now provide an overview of the design of the proposed development for Parcel A. So as you saw earlier, this slide shows the proposed draft plan of subdivision for parcel A, which Ms. Haley talked through. The draft plan of subdivision will create one block that's going to be anticipated for the future truck stop, and 4 industrial blocks with associated public roads and servicing and stormwater management infrastructure. The structure of the development has been designed in a block pattern that promotes efficiency and connectivity for the introduction of servicing and transportation infrastructure that will meet the needs of the development. Block 1 of the proposed draft plan is highlighted in yellow on the screen. This block consists of approximately just over 27 acres, and this is that block that's proposed for the truck stop and all of the ancillary facilities with it. A site plan application has been submitted concurrently with this application to facilitate the phased development of Block 1, and I'll discuss the details of that later in this presentation. Blocks 2 through 5, which are highlighted yellow, are the 4 industrial blocks that make up a total area of approximately 18 acres. Each of these blocks would be subject to a future site plan application to facilitate development on each of those blocks with industrial and highway commercial uses. Block 6 consists of a municipal road, a future municipal road, shown in yellow, and Block 7 consists of another future municipal road shown in orange that would connect to the future subdivision to the east. 2 municipal roads are proposed through the draft plan known as Street A and Street B. Street A runs east-west through the site and connects to County Road 27 and to the intersection of Street B, and Street B runs north-south from the site from Airport Road to the cul-de-sac that connects to Block 1. The future municipal road block extends from the intersection of Street A and B to the eastern property line of the subject lands. Now highlighted, Block 8 consists of a stormwater management block, and that's shown in yellow on the screen. Block 9 is the storm block drainage that you can see there in orange. Block 1 of the proposed development will be serviced by on-site wastewater treatment system, 2 drilled water wells, and an on-site water storage tank for firefighting purposes. The remaining development blocks in the draft plan will be serviced through well and septic systems that will be reviewed through future submissions. So the site plan application that was submitted to facilitate the phased development of the Block 1 into a truck stop, Phase 1 of the truck stop will introduce a convenience store, a truck workshop, cross-loading facility, truck gas bar, a truck auto wash, and associated car and truck parking. Phase 1 will be accessible through private street, which is Street C, which is at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, which will connect to County Road 27. This north access will function as a full movement intersection during this first phase of development. Phase 2 will introduce a food court, another restaurant building, a car gas bar, and additional car and bus parking to the truck stop. Phase 2 of the development will continue to be served by Street C. This slide provides a more detailed understanding of the project statistics. So Phase 1, the total GFA in Phase 1 across 3 buildings is just over 3,100 square meters. Then Phase 2 will introduce 2 additional buildings and have an additional total of just over 2,600, bringing the total GFA up to just under 5,800 square meters. Again, Phase 1 will include the truck gas bar and truck auto wash, while Phase 2 will include the car gas bar. Phase 1 will provide a total of 19 car parking spaces, 114 truck parking spaces, and 22 loading spaces. Phase 2 will provide an additional 344 car parking spaces, 4 loading spaces, and 4 bus parking spaces. So the next few slides provide some precedent images that we found to illustrate what the proposed development may look like. This image shows the types of car and truck gas stations that may be incorporated into the proposed development. This image shows what a one-story convenience store may look like. As you can see, the convenience store incorporates parking around at the front of it and thoughtful landscaping around the perimeter of the property. This image illustrates the cross-loading facility and what that may look like. Trucks are parked parallel to one another with adequate spacing to facilitate efficient cross-loading between the trucks. These 2 images show the types of parking areas that may be featured throughout the proposed development. The parking spaces incorporated will be of standard size and spacing to allow for efficient vehicular movement throughout the truck stop, safe and convenient access to the proposed uses. The image on the right shows standard EV parking spaces. Right now, we're proposing 36 EV spaces will be incorporated with this development. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So just a couple more slides in closing, Mr. Mayor, please. So if you wish to be notified of the decision of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry in respect to the proposed plan of subdivision, we do request the public to make written requests to the United Counties, and the address is here to the attention of Megan Benoit. And if anybody needs any further information, they can certainly contact our office, the township office as well. And all comments pertaining to the zoning bylaw amendment must be submitted by Friday, January 17th. And the reason for this is that it is our intention to bring a staff report to council on January 27th, providing scheduling permits, and that will include a recommendation. So that is the end of our presentation. We're very happy to answer any questions that you may have or the audience may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from around the table? All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the audience? If there is, you can just go up to the podium and just press the gray button. The red lights will come on, speak into the microphone, announce yourself and your address, and just a reminder that we do stay on topic, so procedurally, if we get wayward, I might have to procedurally bring us back to the matter at hand. But aside from that, anybody's in this room is able to go to the lectern should they wish. Okay, so just a reminder, your name and address, and you can just, right there, gray button, and it will light up red whenever you, there it is. Oh, no, press it once again, I think. Great.
Okay, my address is 19152 Paragon Road, which is the next road down from the airport road. I just wonder when this industrial land is going to quit. Like I say, is it going to continue on more? You're getting rid of good farmland, and as you can see, now they're clearing bush to compensate for this good farmland. So, you know, I don't think you're too considerate of the environment. And as everyone knows, the amount of land that is being taken away in Ontario for farmland is almost out of control. And I'm concerned because I live near it, noise, air pollution, and like I say, this clear cutting of bushland because our agriculture land is being taken away from us. So this is just my concerns. And actually maybe the value of my property and the atmosphere that our community has as a rural area is being taken away from me and other people. And that's my concerns.
Okay, if you just, for the record, you gave us your address. Could we get your name too for?
It's Larry Abrams.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
So that, do we have a response from that, from administration at time, or about the the issues being taken, noted? I believe GFA has a wonderful number, sorry to point out to you off the record, about farmland and how it is depleting. So it's a very fair point to bring up as Ontario grows. Would there be anybody else who's interested in having a public comment on record? Again, your name and address. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue Robinson, and I do live on Airport Road with my husband Ron. We are at 19217 Airport Road. So behind us, you're going to have the new plan, and also beside of us, that very small little piece of land beside us. So yeah, I am concerned about this very much.
Okay, thank you.
Not only for noise pollution, but for traffic. Right now, when I come off the 401, sometimes I have a hard time getting through because the trucks are there, and I can't get by them, and they won't move because they're waiting to get in the truck stop for gas. So I'm just wondering about the congestion in that area also.
Ms. Haley, do you have a comment for that? And thank you.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So traffic is often a concern when you're proposing development that abuts the 401 and comes off of the 401. And the Ministry of Transportation has very strict guidelines in terms of how they are to manage traffic. So they are well aware of this proposed development. And in fact, we have worked almost, I would say, it's a little over 2 years coming up with this concept plan and working with MTO. And so they are looking at ways of hoping to improve that traffic. You may have heard Mr. Kamel speak to how for the initial phase, there will be one in and out to accommodate the truck stop. And then as the subdivision evolves, then the way the road's designed will have to change because it'll then redirect traffic through this intersection right here on Airport Road, if you can see at kind of the beginning of Airport Road.
So the
And then they
traffic's
would
going to
come
be
out.
averted to Airport Road.
So there'll be a right in and a right out once the subdivision is fully developed, as well as if you're coming off the 401, you would come up Airport Road and go in. But that's at the full extent of the development.
Now, would the
So-
trucks be coming down that road and going in?
For the first few hundred meters of Airport Road, yes, at the full development stage. Yes. But traffic studies have been completed by professional engineers, and they're being reviewed currently by municipal engineers, Gower engineers, as well as the Ministry of Transportation to study the traffic impacts and how they're going to manage all of this.
But their study doesn't really help us living on that road. Especially when our house is, you're going to see it behind us, you're going to see it beside us, and it's just Dave and us, the two houses there, and we're all going to be surrounded by industrial.
No, and I think there were the pictures perhaps that Ms. Haley provided may have been of, I don't know if, may have been of your house or your neighbor's house, and that was,
No, it wasn't
Was-
our house, it was
Okay.
the first house on that road. Will that house still be existing?
It is proposed to be demolished.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
all right, so those comments will be noted and put on public file. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to go on public record? All right. Any questions or comments around the table further to that? Okay. So this is our first time having the public meeting in our regular agenda, so I'm normally accustomed to leaving this part of our meeting with a conclusion, with an adjournment, but I believe then at this point, being it's our first time, with no further comments from the public, the presentation has been received, and again, please do note the January 17th deadline to get in contact with administration. That's J. Haley or M. Irwin at southglengarry.com. And then we'll just move on to the next part of our agenda. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, Councillor McDonnell just mentioned that you don't have to stay, but you are welcome to stay if you wish. It gets more exciting, I assure you. So moving to action requests. 8A, award RFP 2024-18 Water Capital Planning Study. Ms. McDonald. And we may just wait for everybody to clear out so there's no background noise. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a quick report to award the Water Capital Planning Study that was approved through the 2025 budget. Administration put out a request for proposal and received 2 submissions, one from the Ontario Clean Water Agency for just over $45,000 and the other from Stantec for just under $126,000. I was asked to explain the discrepancy in price and what administration felt drove that. And it's simply hourly rates were different between the two submissions, and the higher cost submission included a number of extra value-added services that administration felt were neat and valuable, but not necessarily required at this time. So it is a large difference between the two submissions, but the lower submission is absolutely capable of doing the work. They had excellent references, and they hit off all parts of the requirements of our RFP. It is an update, it's phase 1 of 2 to update, to start working towards our drinking water license submissions. My report does say that it's within budget, however, it doesn't speak to the whole story. So we had budgeted $50,000 for Part A and Part B. With Part A comes in at $45,000, it's technically under budget. However, the whole project will likely be over budget. Well, not likely, it will be over budget. How much, it's hard to guess, but originally when I'd come to council, I said that things don't seem to cost less than $40,000, so I'm guessing another 20 to 30 on top of this. But I really can't provide a number definitively. It really depends how we scope it and how much work we're willing to do in-house, and that will depend on the capabilities, honestly, of our financial services folks, because the next part is coming up with a lot of, or with the financial numbers and forecasting forward. So that's something that the treasurer and I will definitely work towards scoping appropriately, so we don't hurt our Glenwalt or our water budget too much. So without any further questions, we do recommend awarding to the Ontario Clean Water Agency for their submission. Thank you.
Okay, I see Councillor McDonnell, but I forgot to read the resolution coming into this, so I apologize for that. Just remember this conversation, and we'll moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Bougie, that staff report 2024-134 be received, and that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry award RFP 2024-18 for the Water Capital Planning Study update to the Ontario Clean Water Agency in accordance with the submission of $45,305, excluding HST, and furthermore, that the General Manager of Infrastructure Services be authorized to sign all appropriate documents. So we have heard from our General Manager, Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. McDonald answered part of my question with her preamble for conversation, but it was just what was budgeted by council. I went back into the budget meeting notes, and I couldn't find where I hadn't written them down because it was cut off on the bottom of mine, and I hadn't noted it during the budget proceedings. So I guess my question would be that do we have sufficient reserves within the water budget to proceed with the second part, or are we anticipating, would we anticipate going to, example, would anticipate Aqua having a more favorable price bundled together as opposed to separated into two, or just for proceeding tonight?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, excellent question. I saw a quick nod from our treasurer saying that yes, the water reserves could handle a little bit more, so we wouldn't be taxing that overly much in terms of could we bundle on a second phase to this current contract without giving up the farm. We'll see how Aqua performs on the first part as we get into it, and if we're satisfied with their services, that's certainly something that we could look at.
That satisfies your curiosity? Okay. Any other comments around the table? All those in favor of the motion as read? Carried. Nice to have you back, Councillor Jaworski. Bylaws. Constitute and appoint committee of adjustment, Ms. Haley, or in this case, Mr. Irwin. Moved by, we'll go to our clerk or CAO. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor Bougie, that staff report 2024-135 be received, and that bylaw 2024-80, being a bylaw to constitute and appoint all members of council to the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of South Glengarry for the year of 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 16th day of December 2024. Mr. Fothrop.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, the members of the Committee of Adjustment, I understand since 2019, have consisted of all 5 members of council. And the Planning Act requires that a bylaw be passed annually should the Committee of Adjustment members be consisted of council members. And so this is the annual passing of that bylaw for the upcoming year of 2025.
Thank you. So I guess the question would be, do we wish to maintain that the Committee of Council Yes, okay, so any discussion furthermore? Nope. All those in favor? Or sorry, okay, I'll recall that. We'll go to Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I didn't need to make a comment. I just felt that it's been working well. I like the fact that the buck has to stop here anyway, and this way, you know, instead of a committee being appointed, the public can get a hold of us, and if they're not happy with decisions, 4 years that we're gone, they can turf us whenever they choose. So I think it's been working well, and I'm happy to keep it going that way.
Thank you. So all those in favor as read? Carried. So now we will move into key information report. I believe Ms. MacDonald will be leading this one. It is grants and donations requests. So we do have a report in front of us. I guess if you want a little preamble, and then we'll go back and forth and see where we end up. Ms. MacDonald.
Good evening, and through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm here this evening to discuss our grants and donations. As noted in the report, this year we've budgeted $62,500. We did have one request granted this year with a promise of funds for 2025, which was to the Lancaster District Nonprofit Housing for $4,000. So we committed that value already. And previously, we'd also discussed $20,000 for the Maxwell Manor. However, I think at budget we were going to discuss if we were taking that out of grants donations, so that remains up for council to discuss. But as you have before you, the requests from the community, and I guess I'll leave it to council to make their decisions. I think.
All right, thank you, and thank you for providing us our the criteria we currently have. As you saw on that spreadsheet, we have a few 4 columns with yeses and nos, and just a reminder for us to return, because I think we would also like to look towards council to get an idea about the Maxwell Manor funding 2026 to 2029, so that we don't do this, check it off, and then resolve at the end to move away. So starting at, well, I suppose I'd want to start. Does anybody have any philosophies that they wish to imbue upon us as ways to think about it, or just want to go line by line? We'll go Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mayor McDonald. Recognizing that this is the most significant ask, like total ask, at least that I've seen, and that there are very many deserving organizations. The way I approached it, at least for myself, was that I categorized the different groups, and then sort of wanted to suggest adopting like a philosophy within those different categories. So, for example, we have like cultural events and institutions, which would be like the Sports Hall of Fame, Celtic Music Hall of Fame, those sorts of things. And then we have ones that are more, I call them people support, which are more like health, mental health, housing, and then there's recreation-related ones. And so I have different funding amounts suggested, sort of for like items within those categories. Again, I mean, obviously not. In some cases, the groups are not asking for as much as what I might suggest, so I'm not suggesting we give them more than they ask, but that's sort of the approach that I was suggesting, because in some cases, they are very similar, and it's, in some cases, they've just, the request is fairly generic, and again, because there's so many requests, I think now is the time to sort of spread the pie a little bit wider, as opposed to, there are a few that I would suggest we should perhaps think about removing, but that was the philosophy I had approached.
So given that philosophy, Councillor Jaworski kindly shared like the listing, and I think it's a good way to focus us on those groups. So if that's okay, it might not look exactly how it is up here, but we can go through them if that's okay. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree with Councillor Jaworski, and I thank her for taking that initiative to put that together. We spent about an hour on the phone discussing it as well, so I know I'm of, I guess, the same line of thought. There's a lot of good organizations that are asking for money to put on good programming and good events, but at some point in time, $130,000 is not sustainable for, we're talking 1% of taxation just in giveaways or handouts at this point. And it's just not sustainable, and that's before even waiving the cost of doing things or the cost of using some of our facilities that we'd be giving up on some of these events. So I think it's, I agree with Councillor Jaworski's line of thinking, and I'd be happy to go through it that way as well.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Lang?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I'm wondering if council has any interest in, whether it's at the beginning, and I would want to do it at the beginning. I would like to commit the 20,000 to the Maxwell Manor for the 5 years, and to give them the knowledge and the ability to borrow against that, because the more funding that they have locked up, the better it is, the easier it is for them to get loan and better rates. And the other thing is that I would like to make sure that we're contributing similar to what the other townships have done. I think most of the other townships have committed that $100,000 over a period of years. Maybe some have done a little more, I'm not sure. But I don't know if we want to talk about that at the end or the beginning. We've already done this year, so it doesn't affect this year's, but I think it would be good. Otherwise, they can't use the other 80,000 if it's not decided till next year.
That is a fair point, and given that it is the largest request, I'm glad to bring it to the front. So then the question would be, one, do we wish to commit that full 100,000? And then two, how and where? So we can do it through the grants and donations. We can probably just tack it on to general government in future budgets or somewhere within the budget and just commit to it through taxation in addition to this. But those would be the two things. So I suppose we'll start with, is there interest? Okay, we'll go start with interest and then thoughts to it. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. And maybe I'm partially to blame for it coming this way. I'm okay doing the 5-year commitment. I do believe in the Maxwell Manor. I understand well, I very much have appreciated its importance over the years as well. I'm happy to make that. I'd like to see it go through grants and donations. So I'm willing to have it come right off the top of grants and donations, the number that's determined. And through that, I'd kind of like to see maybe make a request to staff as we get into the new year and things settle down and they get some time, maybe we as council should review this policy. And I mean, it was nice that today we could throw something together to kind of create a criteria for ourselves, you know, as opposed to more or less cutting good local organizations out completely. But I think we need to be a little more stringent and a little more restrictive as to how much we give out to certain groups or to, I guess, certain categories of groups. And make it a little harder, I think, honestly, is in the past it's been fairly free will. You asked for the max, you got the max. And I think that word has more or less gotten out, and we've got an influx over the last number of years that's brought us well over what we used to give. So I think we need to rein it back in and maybe make it a little tougher to get the money, and maybe lower it that if we're not necessarily the first choice and that there are other funding opportunities out there, example like Canada Day, there's a number of organizations that do fund those at the federal and provincial level. So I'm willing to commit to the deputy mayor, but I would like to also just bring up the comment that we maybe revise this as we go forward, and those asks do come through this this process.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bougie.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Specifically to the Maxwell Manor, I did have hesitations committing past our term of council. But with that being said, I mean, of course, it's a worthwhile endeavor, and they need that commitment so that they can put it on their books to get their projects rolling as well. So, and I do agree that it should be in grants and donations. So I would be comfortable with the 5-year 100,000, like many other townships have committed to. Thank you, Councillor Jaworski, for going through and kind of categorizing some of these asks. You know, this was kind of our opportunity for this newly grant application, so that would be more like, I guess, project-based. So not everyone was going to be getting the full 4,000 every single time. So, I mean, I definitely have taken some of these off completely, and I'm looking forward, maybe we can go line by line in a moment to kind of decide what we want to keep and not, or lower amounts, but I think we're able to stay within our budget. And I'm talking with Councillor McDonnell as well. It seems like we can get to that number where we're not increasing to the full $128,000.
Thank you. So I guess that means we're supporting it because Councillor Langen too, so that's good. Grants and donations, there's two supporting it through that, through the current program. Are there any comments from this side too? I guess I would want, if one of you are interested in funding the 2026 to 2029 portion through grants and donations or opposed to that? Right now we have, good, okay, so there we go. It's going to come through grants and donations and the $100,000 has been committed. So now we move to grants and donations, the items outside of that. So, and I'll use them. I'll try to guide us as best we can. So Canada Day, Martintown, and Lancaster were the two. There are some gifts in kind attributed to those. Martintown had asked for $3,000. Project total $3,500. Optimist Club of Lancaster had $4,050. Project cost of $19,204. Any thoughts on those two donations? Okay, we'll go Councillor McDonnell and Councillor Jaworski.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I would just say, I guess, I almost let Councillor Jaworski, since it's her criteria, but I agree with it. For Canada Day, $2,000 per applicant as a cap, and then if they request lower, we stick with that. But both were above that 2,000, so I would propose 2,000.
Councillor Jaworski?
Yeah, no, and thanks to Councillor McDonnell for chatting about this with me this afternoon, because sometimes it's in discussing that things become more clear in one's mind. But yeah, I think in this case, again, it's nothing against the good work that these folks have done over the years. It's just, again, there's very many requests, and I think if we're going to start, reducing, then we should do it in a fair manner for both. So yeah, I would suggest $2,000 for the Canada Day celebrations each.
Yep. If council, just because if you allow me a moment just to think on this one too, looking at it, Martintown is $3,500 budget, and Optimist of Lancaster are $4,550 of a $19,000 budget. So a question we could ask ourselves in the future, and perhaps not this evening, would be, do we want to host like one Canada Day very well, or two in different communities, because we are South Glengarry, but maybe that's not a discussion for this evening. So any other opinions on the $2,000 for each of those? Or Councillor Bougie?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would be in favor with the $2,000. I mean, keep it fair between the two organizations, I guess, or two groups.
All right, so that's three, unless you have a strong wish to entertain the audience. I'll try and write this down, keep the track, so we're all keeping track. So then the other would be cultural. Within this bucket, Councillor Jaworski, and I give credit, I won't shout you out every time, but the first two I will. We have the Glengarry Highland Games at $4,000. They say it's $8,000 for the whole program. Glengarry Sports Hall of Fame is $4,000. $18,548 is their total project value. Glengarry Celtic Music Hall of Fame, $3,000. $5,000 is the full.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Can we stick to line by line, because you're getting close to me having to declare a conflict on individual ones?
Thank you. Yes, sure. Then we will go back to Glengarry Highland Games. We're requesting $4,000, and their total project cost is $8,000. Any thoughts? Councillor Bougie.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's typically our half of that luncheon and that event. So I'd be in favor of supporting the full $4,000.
Thank you. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I have mixed feelings on this one. Again, I'll give credit to Councillor Jaworski. A fair number, $2,000 per cultural request or cultural institution, be it Highland Games, Celtic Music Hall of Fame. I think that's fair. I do agree the Glengarry Highland Games is it's an excellent event. I attend every year. I would have trouble going over, I think, for one as opposed to the other. Especially, I mean, Glengarry Highland Games, technically per our policy, is a non-eligible event, or non-eligible use of the funds for the request. So I think the $2,000 is fair. Again, another reason I think we should revamp our policy, but at this point, I'd be more apt to stick to the $2,000.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'd like to keep that at $4,000. I think especially when it's done in conjunction with North, and I don't know if they've already passed it, but I suspect they have, that they are, like, you know, it's an $8,000 thing, and we're each putting in half. I don't want to see them putting in 4 and us putting in 2. And I don't think that things have to be fair. I really don't. I think they have to be according to what we feel is the best for the community, and some organizations, some years maybe are not doing too many things, and some years they may be doing something big and exciting and maybe need a little more money. So I'm willing to look at it line by line. But for that one, I'm voting for 4. Thank you.
May I ask a question of a director in the room? Just because it's, I think, an important thing to note. At which, I believe the Highland Games have made a significant contribution to the Maxwell Manor. If you match it, is it to the amount of 50 or 500,000?
It's 500,000.
500,000? Okay, so they are running a good process. I maybe should not have asked that question so late in the process. Sorry for that. Councillor Jaworski?
Thank you, through you, Mayor McDonald. I mean, specific to this item, I mean, obviously, I'm a huge supporter of the Glengarry Highland Games. Both my girls dance the McCullough dancers, and we'd be going there regardless of this. But I would suggest, you know, again, if we're talking about the benefit to the community, I think this specific item at the Hall of Fame, at the Glengarry Highland Games is it's not, you know, if we're going to use funds from the township, there's items that I think at the Highland Games that could be better serving the community. You know, they're very gracious with providing, you know, access to the Highland Games for many dignitaries, but I'm sure there's several who would be more than willing to pay for their own tickets. So I think that's, you know, there's a way that we could all participate in that.
So with that, I guess it was 2,000 and 4,000, or did you put number 2,000? Or Councillor McInnell?
On this one, I'll concede, and I'll say we can do the 4,000. I would want it looked at next year, and I'd like to, I'll just bring this up because I think there's a lot of these organizations that I think we need to have a conversation with in this day and age and the cost of things. I know probably part of this is, or maybe not part of this directly, but they do supplement tickets to different dignitaries, and I think at this point in time they need to stop doing that because those dignitaries are going either way. As Councillor Jaworski said, you know, sometimes we get tickets to the Highland Games, or the Williamstown Fair, or to different things around, but we're going to go because we want to go. We're going to go because we want to support the community. They don't have to give us free tickets to go in. They should be taking in the Highland Games example, $60 a person. They shouldn't be supplementing dignitaries to go, and I think we have to have that conversation with them because they're losing significant dollars for the sake of bringing people that were already going. So I will concede it this year, mostly because I won't be able to take the insufferable jokes of Mayor McDonald to the north, and we'll just go in even this year, and we can address this in the future.
I thought I was going to have to break a tie. Okay, $4,000. Oh, Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you. I think that's a very valid point that both Councillor Jaworski and Councillor McInnell bring up. There is, like, they offer me a ticket every year, and I have a patron's pass anyway, so I really don't need it or use it or want it. And I think I like the idea of continuing to support them, but maybe we could suggest to them that there are ways that money could be used better than sending us a free ticket.
Okay. That might come up with another organization, Glengarry Sports Hall of Fame. They have asked $4,000 cost to maintain the building, $18,000, $500 is their project cost. Councillor Jaworski?
All but the fencibles of the cultural events and institutions, if we put that one aside, I was suggesting 2,000 for all of them. Again, because, you know, they all have a similar value, I think, to the community in terms of, you know, the cultural heritage that they're promoting. And I guess the Sir John Johnson actually was asking for less, so I'm not suggesting we give them more than they're asking for, but that was the level that I was suggesting for all of those, save I'm putting the fencibles aside. We can discuss that separately.
Okay, so it's 2,000 from Councillor Jaworski, Councillor Bucci.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just had a question in regards to the building. Is it a building owned by North Glengarry, or is this a building owned by the Glengarry Sports Hall of Fame? Just, I don't know if we know that, or,
Would administration offhand know that? I know Councillor McDonnell?
I am not confident in this whatsoever, but I believe we own it in conjunction with North Glengarry, if I'm not mistaken. I thought it was used as an example. It was maybe donated from North Glengarry, and we are in partnership maybe, but it is on the fairgrounds in North Glengarry's land.
Okay.
okay, well, maybe something to look into, but either way, I guess, like, we're getting these costs for maintaining buildings, and maybe they do have a project. It seems like they do, because it's $18,000, but I don't know what that project is. Oh, that's just their maintenance annual cost. Okay. So I would be comfortable going to 2,000 for this one.
Okay. So 2,000s. If we have one more, then we can, okay, 2,000 is what it is, unless you have a passionate argument. So that's $2,000. Celtic Music Hall of Fame. 3,000 is the ask, 5,000 is the project cost. Councillor Jaworski has said 2,000 is kind of her start. Does anybody wish that? 2,000 from Councillor McDonnell. I feel like a bidder now. 2,000. We won't have 4,000. 2,000. No. So we have 2,000. Councillor Bougie. Okay, so it will be 2,000 then for the Glengarry Celtic Hall of Fame. Sorry, I put 2,000 in the wrong line here. I'm sure other people are keeping track, but I'm here too as well. Glengarry Fencibles Trust. This is where Councillor McDonnell has to accept. Oh, you can just step away from, if that's all right. Councillor Jaworski had said this one is an exception to her 2,000 rule, so that's 4,000 she was proposing, I believe.
Yeah, and my rationale is, I mean, this is a project that has, been ongoing and, and it's accessibility related. So I felt in this case that it was we're kind of in it already, although we hadn't made any firm commitments, but also because it's an accessibility issue. I thought that we should keep it as is.
Okay, and I forgot, just to try and keep myself in order here, was $4,000 was the request, $288,000 was the project cost. So $4,000 is what Councillor Jaworski's, Deputy Mayor Lang, and Councillor Bougie. Councillor McNell, you can come back now. We've made a decision on that one, $4,000. Sir John Manor House Committee, 1,544 is the ask, as well as the project total. Councillor Jaworski was saying to match that one, so that's 1,544. Any other further head shakes from around the table? We have, so that's 1,544. Moving to South Glengarry Pipes and Drums. This is, I believe you had quantified this in your 2,001, so Councillor Jaworski has 2,000. They're requesting 4,000. And the project total is 5,000. Any comments from around the table? So this is 2,000. Yes. Okay, so 2,000. Or Deputy Mayor, did you have a half shake in case you wanted to make a comment? Please
I just
do.
want to make a comment that it seems like every year it always says the same thing: purchase and maintain equipment and uniforms. And I don't know very much about that, if that's cost that much every year, or if it's just a line item they're just putting the same thing in every time. I'm not sure.
Ms. McDonald?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do receive the receipts for the uniform pieces that they purchase before we provide the funds, so we get different receipts every year.
Councillor Jaworski?
Do they typically spend the entire 4,000? Okay.
Okay, and just because it's some context on this one, just because it might come back to us, would be, I believe we also provide a tent for the Highland Games. They typically ask for that, but now that's included in this. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure we didn't miss something, so that's very clear. 2,000 for the pipes and drums then per council, I believe. Martintown Christmas Parade. So Councillor Jaworski had kind of labeled that we do have a few Christmas parades. Does the Lancaster one not ask for? Okay. No. All right, so we have the Williamstown Christmas Parade asking for $1,000, cost left empty, and Martintown Christmas Parade asking 500 and 700 is what the ask was. So I think, oh, sorry, Ms. McDonald?
Just through you, Mr. Mayor. Last year, they hadn't asked when we went forward at this point either. I think we included them and let them know after.
Thank you. Councillor Jaworski, I think I saw your hand up.
I was suggesting 500 for parades.
Okay, thoughts on that? Council, Deputy Mayor Lang?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For 2 parades or for 3? Is that counting that the Lancaster will eventually get around to asking? Did they finally come and ask last year? And what was the amount they asked last year?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, $1,500.
Okay.
So that would be 500 per parade. I'm seeing nods. Okay, so then we should include a Lancaster one just as a placeholder because we believe they will be asking. Oops. Sorry for a moment, just trying to keep up. Oh, I can't use Excel online. Much better with the desktop version. Beyond 21, $5,500 is the request. $8,500 is the total project value. To use the model we're using now to support people. So this is in support of people in our community. Councillor Jaworski, I'll let you say, because you have, I think you have.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I mean, in this category, I included, was people's, supporting people, so health, mental health, housing, that sort of thing. So it was the Beyond 21, the Glengarry Mental Health Initiative, the hospital fundraiser that's coinciding with Women's Day, the Salem United Church Community Drop-In, and Habitat for Humanity. Also in that category, I had the Canadian Mental Health Association. I'll just mention now that I was going to suggest that that one not be funded because we have our local Glengarry Mental Health Initiative already in that category. And so I was suggesting that up to a maximum of $2,500 for each of those. So those that obviously requested less, that we would provide less, but I'm saying maximum of $2,500.
Okay, so we'll start then. Beyond 21, project cost $5,500, $8,500. Any thoughts that matter? Councillor Jaworski's mentioning $2,500. Thumbs up from Councillor McNell. 2,500, sorry. I just say that. I don't know why I've always said 2,500 when 2,500 would be so much easier to say. But they're the same, yeah. Oh, sorry, 2,500. So, okay, we'll go for 2,500 there. We're doing the Glengarry Mental Health Initiative. I believe that same number is put on the table, 2,500. The ask was 2,500. 20,000 was the project cost. I'm seeing head shakes. So then, yes, we've got a bare minimum 3, enough to move business. Journée de la Femme, Women's Day, Alexandria. They are asking for $1,000. The project cost is $1,000. And Councillor Jaworski, did you have your hand up? Sorry.
Project cost is $1,000. It's $3,000.
Oh, sorry.
But
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, the requested is $1,000. The project cost is $3,000. Sorry if I misspoke. So they're asking for $1,000. Councillor McDonnell.
In my list, I had changed that to 0 to not fund this year.
Okay, so we have 0 and 1,000. Councillor Bougie.
Just a question. Is this event it's in Alexandria, right? It's not in Green Valley? That's a separate event? This is an event in Alexandria? So I would be, I also had that one crossed off my list as well.
Okay. So Deputy Mayor Lang, we're looking at Journée de la Femme, Women's Day, either $1,000 or 0 are proposed presently. Okay, then it's 0, because that shows my vote, because it's not in our community. Salem United Church Community Drop-In. Oh, Councillor Jaworski.
I want to make, just so that folks are clear, just like a point of information, that this was like a fundraiser for the hospital. Okay. The one in the Glengarry Memorial
Yes,
Hospital.
so that does serve us all, and I think that's, I'm so consistent with my funding of hospitals and those things that, so mine was 0, so we'll break that tie, so 0, but that is true for the Glengarry Memorial Hospital fundraiser. So now looking at Salem United Church drop-in, they've requested $2,000 for a $2,650 project. This one follows this same category, so I believe Councillor Jaworski would recommend $2,000. Around the table, I have 1 head shake, 2, okay, that's 3, 2,000. Canadian Mental Health Association, this one was a different, I believe, Councillor Jaworski, you said 0 for this particular one. They're asking $5,000 for a $20,000 project. I see a 0, 0, okay. So that one will be 0. Habitat for Humanity, they were asking $10,000. That falls within your $2,500 category. That's your start? Other thoughts? We have Councillor McDonnell saying 0, Councillor Bougie saying 0 as well. Deputy Mayor Lang?
And I'm going to say 0 as well. Not that it's, I just believe we've given them property, and I believe we're working towards giving them some more property. So I just don't want people to think that we don't support them. We definitely are supporting them, but, I think that's enough.
And if you look at it, the way I would, if I was to argue that one, would be that it's a service level expansion, and we can maybe be part of that, but we don't have to be. So, and we do give land. Green Valley should see something in short order. Friends of the Summerstown Trails, they're asking for $9,700 and 60 cents, perhaps. And their total project cost may be an error there. So I think, but it says 6,000, I believe. So, Councillor Jaworski, this is new. This was, I believe, you would define this as rec earlier. So go ahead.
Correct, yeah. I had another category I created called recreation-related, and within that, I bucketed the Friends of the Summerstown Trails, the Charland Skating Club, the St. Lawrence Ag Society, and I would have included the curling club, but I'm not clear about them of whether they're eligible or not. I kind of understood they weren't, so I had at least the first, they said that they're not an eligible org on the chart we got.
In column 1, you had, I think it said there was an N under eligible organization.
Yeah. So, and then there were a
Just a
sure.
quick point here. Our clerk has mentioned that may have been a typographical error. So just we'll assume then perhaps that is a yes, they are an eligible organization.
Thank you for that clarification. And then there's also, there's 3 other categories that I guess I'm putting them in recreation too. However, I believe that their ask really is for equipment that I think we could have a discussion on whether or not it should be township provided as opposed to grants and donations and then stuff installed on township property. So those ones that I think fall in that category are the minor hockey, the rink divider, the Good Timers for, tables and whatnot at the community center, and then the Martintown Horticultural Society. For the benches at the park, again, I think that's township equipment versus grants and donations. But, yeah, I was putting them all in the same category, generally speaking.
Okay.
So, and I was proposing 1,500 for anyone that did qualify.
Okay, so 1,500 is on the table for the Friends of the Summerstown Trails. Councillor Bougie?
Just in terms of the Friends of Summerstown Trail, we have been paying insurance $4,000, so is that included in that 9,700? I mean, they're asking quite a bit here, like insurance, online membership registration, and then staff expense and development cost, I guess. But, so are we gonna, that $4,000 for insurance is in grants and donations currently? Or is that separate?
Ms. McDonald?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we pay that separately through the township insurance within general government, I would presume.
Please do. Deputy Mayor Lang?
I believe we pay the insurance because we own the snowmobiles
Yeah.
that are there.
Yeah, it
So
was-
they're just under our fleet, I would imagine, or something similar.
Yeah, I believe it was a grant that we received for the snowmobile, and they donated to us a while ago, yeah. So I'm okay with, I guess we're gonna, according to Councillor Jaworski's recreation suggestion, it would be $1,500. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. Yes, okay, so $1,500 for the Summerstown Trails. Moving to the Charland Skating Club. That's $3,000 was the ask, $7,500 is the program. Councillor Jaworski, based on your rationalization, starting at $1,500. I'm seeing a thumbs up, a head shake. Okay, $1,500 will be received. Lancaster District Curling Club, now that it's eligible, their ask was $4,000, and $10,000 was the total project cost. This one, $1,400 would be, wish to apply that as a starting spot? 1,500? What did I say? Oh, I was looking at oh goodness, thank you. 1,500 is the starting spot, thank you. Good, okay, 1,500. A gentle reminder that we can't say yes or no to Councillor Jaworski's suggestions. I'm okay going this way too. It's good, it's a very good start. I appreciate that. St. Lawrence Valley Agricultural Society, their ask was $10,000, 92,000, and I believe that's, yeah, I should have looked at the in-kind things because they're asking to waive landfill fees, which would be considerable, I think, in some cases. And I should have, I don't know, I have to go back to the start. Okay, I'm just going to go through, I'm going to go to the very top for a second because I did miss a few important items and I just will catch up. So Martintown Canada Day, in-kind service was to use the grounds, washrooms, etc., extra picnic tables, garbage cans, and appreciated staff resources to do that. Is that approved for the Canada Day? Likewise for Canada Day Lancaster. That's good. Okay, thank you. Now I'm a little lost on my spreadsheet, but we'll be back in a moment. Coming to Friends of the Summerstown Trails, part of their request was also in past years the township has provided porta potty, looked after cleaning snow in the parking lot, and did the garbage collection, not related to this request. Do you wish to continue to do that? Deputy Mayor Lang?
Are we still cleaning the snow? I thought that we had got that over to the counties.
I thought there was a conversation that infrastructure in that particular spot was a county thing, and we were supposed to do recreation items as a township thing. That would have been early in our term, because I remember you and I talking about
Counties
that.
own it instead of us, and I thought they had come around to saying they were going to pay, because we had been paying it.
So if that has not happened, that was something county did approve. Ms. McDonald?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to remind council that we entered into a three-way memorandum of understanding with the Friends of the Summerstown Trails, STNG, and ourselves, and Deputy Mayor Lang is correct. The counties is bearing the cost of the snow clearing. We coordinated on their behalf because we have a snow clearing contract in the area. We do provide garbage collection through Ms. Harbor's. It is your forces. And we provide washrooms as well. Thank you.
Okay, so that 1,500 we need to consider, do we also continue paying for the porta potties, or is that now lumped into that? Because that'd be likely a 12-month rental, I imagine. So, Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe in their application it says porta potties are like $3,000 a year. And I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't know if that's something we wish to continue doing. It does seem like a lot at the end of the day, just for in-kind.
So if we keep it, I suppose that in-kind goes to 4,500 essentially. And maybe that's, is there a wish to look at that particular one? We're at 1,500 now. Do we wish to up it to compensate for some of that or remain there? Councillor Jaworski.
I'm just curious if I'm not following the logic of why the porta potty would be considered in kind. Do we have a bunch of those?
If I was to hazard a guess, it's likely because it used to fall within roads instead of like a rec thing, and it kind of just got lost in the budget and kindness, perhaps. Like it's one of the handshake deals, perhaps, that existed pre-2015 and has maintained. Would be my best guess. But good to have it rectified potentially here, because it is a cost to us as much as it's not our time, it's actually our money. So it's more proper in the money portion. Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to see it continue on for now. If we're going to look at changing it, I don't think we want to do it now. People are there daily now, starting to use the trails because the forestry crew is out, and I'd hate to yank it partway through their busy season, which is the winter. So if we want to talk about it, I think we should talk about what we will do next year, sort of thing.
Okay. Councillor Bougie.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, I would agree with Deputy Mayor Lang, and just remember, there's many school groups that use that facility, so I mean, they need a washroom to use, so.
Okay, so then we will maintain the porta potty, and perhaps more fittingly, if it is $3,000 a year, we'll give them $4,500 just to truly account for that, because it is there. So we're giving them $4,500, but that includes the includes the porta potty. Is that will of council? I see two head shakes. So it's going to be $4,500 because we're moving the porta potties over there just to recognize it as an actual cost. Thank you. So then moving down to the St. Lawrence Valley Agricultural Society, their ask is $10.92, and they're also waiving landfill fees. I did see, I thought I saw something from Councillor Bougie earlier. Okay, so Councillor Bougie and Councillor McNell are saying 0 for this particular one. Deputy Mayor Lang? Oh, it's $10,000. Yeah, I was on a yell. So 10,000 is the ask, $92,000 is the project request. There is a waiving of landfills. Presently, we have a 0 from Councillor Bougie and Councillor McDonnell.
I could just say 0, or I could explain myself.
You can feel free to explain yourself, because
I'm going to go along with them and say 0. And I think we have been pretty big supporters of the fair and continue to be so. And I think we recently have been with our land transaction deal. I think we've been quite good to them. So I think for this year, that's enough.
And then the waiving of the landfill fees, we're also saying no to that one. So we're waiving landfill fees? So the 10,000 is out, waiving the landfill fees is in? Okay. Councillor Jaworski?
But maybe just as a parenthesis, I know that at the Environment Committee, we were hoping to have folks from the fair come to speak to us maybe in the new year about like what steps they're taking to help reduce what goes to the landfill. So I think there's an understanding to trying to keep that as low as possible, but it's the start of a discussion I think that is good to be having.
Okay, thank you. And that's, I think perhaps at your advocation, we have a water bottle station there too. So that anybody who goes to the fair who's watching, I'll look at the camera for this one. Please do bring your glass or plastic water bottle. We don't need one-use plastics whenever we have that. It's free and good water from Glengarry County. Buy your water. Oh, sorry, and buy your iced tea and all your other refreshments from neighboring vendors. Perhaps you can recommend to the fire department to sell multi-use things and perhaps up that profit model. But I'm rambling now. Coming to École Élémentaire Catholique d'Ange Gardien. Any thoughts on this one? I don't know if this one fell within. I see Councillor McDonnell.
I think Councillor Jaworski had it in, and I would agree. I don't want to be in the business of funding schools. I don't think we should be. I think the request was for school trips and for Christmas concert, and you open that can of worms. We've got a number of schools. It wouldn't be fair to fund one and not the others, so I'm not interested in funding schools. That's the province's job.
Councillor McDonnell? Councillor Jaworski?
No, I agree obviously with Councillor McDonnell, but one thing is, we do lots of in-kind stuff with lots of different schools, and I think that's stuff that we should continue to do. But in this case, it's specifically giving funds for things that are, really unrelated to the township and their, actual hard dollars. Not that in-kind services don't also have a ramification, but I think that's the kind of stuff we need to maximize is in-kind services.
All right, so that one will be 0. Martintown and District Good Timers. So this, I should have listed, so the École Élémentaire was 3,000 was the ask and 6,000 was the project cost. Martintown and District Good Timers, $3,672 is the request. Likewise, the project total. Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll say no because it seems like a redundant ask. They're looking to purchase new tables and chairs for some of their programming that happens in our building, and in essence, that would just be buying chairs and tables for ourselves to put in someone else's name. So I think at this point, if there's a shortage of tables and chairs, I'd encourage the Good Timers to come to Ms. Harper's and her staff and say, if there are some broken tables, I'm sure it's well within our budget to replace them. But at this point, I don't think we want to buy chairs and put somebody else's name on them. So,
Deputy Mayor Lang?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I will agree to a certain point. I suspect they're looking for card tables to play cards at for 4 people to sit around rather than tables like we're sitting at now, which I think is what we supply. I could be wrong on that, and maybe Ms. Harbers would know a lot better than I would, but I think they're looking for that specific. My worry with that is we fund them to buy the tables and chairs, and then they are not, they're using them just for themselves and not sharing with other groups. So I think it might be better if it was done by the township, and then we have control.
Yeah, no, that does make sense, right? If we're paying for them, we can share them with the whole community at large versus one group, although they do share. Ms. Harbers, I believe the question was directed to you, and I forget exactly what it was. So if you remember it, please answer. If not, that.
I don't have the details on the size of tables, but you are correct. There are actually card tables at the Martintown Community Center, as well as larger tables. And it's possible that they're looking for replacements of various different furniture that the municipality could look into internally so that, like you mentioned, anyone would have access to them.
Okay, so that's looking like zero from the grants and donations budget based on how that conversation's going. Zero, okay. Charlotte Minor Hockey Association, their ask is 10,000. Their project total is 10,000. And because these are some unique ones, but we'll go to Councillor Jaworski. Sure, we'll start.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I'm not, and I wasn't able to get an answer quickly enough about who purchased the dividers that are there now, but they are the soft ones and they're starting to stretch and whatnot. And in conversation with Councillor McDonnell, he brought up the valid question of like, is this equipment that should be owned by a specific group, or is it because now certain programming, like for hockey, you have to have half ice for several age ranges, and there's higher quality items that perhaps would make it easier for all the users of the arena. So I was, putting it out. I wasn't sure if it's something that we would get involved. If not, if the township would not get involved in purchasing the equipment, I'd say $1,500. However, I am curious what our CAO, what his opinion on this might be, as he might have some experience in that specific topic.
Mr. Fother, have you ever helped with recreation?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I have. And I believe Ms. Arbors has spoken directly with the group. I think where you're getting at is some of the rink dividers in some other facilities. In particular, Cornwall has a number of them, which are sort of rigid board rink dividers. I will say do create some operational issues. They're once set up, they're very nice to play, but they do take a fair bit of time to set up, and as well they can, if you're not on skates, trying to set them up on a clean sheet of ice, it can be a bit hazardous as well, trying to set them up with work boots. So it does pose a bit of a problem, but Ms. Arbors perhaps can elaborate on her conversation with the minor sports group as to the type of dividers they were looking to purchase.
I was able to speak with minor hockey, and it's my understanding that the boards that they are looking to purchase are similar to the ones that are currently out there right now, the soft boards that are easier to install. But currently the divider that is out there does not fit the proper width, because when we did the arena renovation, the width is a bit shorter, so the divider doesn't fit appropriately, and the Velcro on it has let go, so it's harder to keep all the pieces together. We did some digging today, and the boards that are out there right now, the red pads, were jointly purchased between minor hockey and the township. I believe minor hockey might have provided a donation towards the purchase, and that is something that administration could look into, maybe fixing the current boards, possibly if that's a possibility. Otherwise, it is something that maybe the municipality would own, so that it could be shared, because right now the boards that we do have are currently used for some of our programming as well as minor hockey, so something to consider.
Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess given that information, I'd maybe like to see us investigate it a little further with them as the year goes through. I'm sure these will get through the year. I don't think that we're going to buy and replace them or make or break their year this year. So maybe some consideration for 2026 budget. If we're doing it early, maybe it could be kind of approved in essence earlier or later in 2025. Sorry, if that's something we determine to be township to be owned equipment. I think it'd be maybe better that way. I don't think. I'm assuming they're staying here. They're not going home with them every night. It's in essence township equipment. It's staying in our facility, and if ever it went missing, we'd be to blame. So it's probably better if we own it in the end of the day. So, and it is a large amount of money for the Minor Hockey Association to put out. It's obvious they were looking for 100% funding, so maybe something we can talk with them for next year.
All right, so it's looking like 0 from Councillor McDonnell. 0, okay, 0 from Deputy Mayor Lang. Councillor Jaworski, you wish to speak?
Yeah, no, thank you through you, Mayor McDonald. No, I'm happy to hear Ms. Harbor's discussions with them, and I would support just further consultation, because I have a feeling that, if it's a matter of just replacing one or fixing the Velcro, that, maybe that could be done much more cost effectively.
Okay, so then, yeah, if it comes up, please be innovative with your repairs, and we'll go 0 for this particular one. Martintown Horticultural Society, their ask is $4,000. The project total is, again, $3,728.95. So round the table if there's any interest. And this is and there's also placement of benches and chaining them into place. So that's a staff resource. So it'd be buying the benches. And then Councillor McDonnell is signaling 0 at present. 0 from Councillor Bougie and Councillor Jaworski.
Yeah, again, this is township property, township equipment, and I think if that's something that we want, it's through Ms. Yeah, but that should be, like, Ms. Harbors has a plan, I believe, for that park as well, so I think we should, stay with what we had there.
Okay, thank you. So that is 0 for that particular one. Glencairn Lodge, we had already allocated $4,000. Maxwell Manor, we have already allocated $20,000. And I believe that is all of them from the list. Oh. Where did? Raisin Ridger would be for the canoe race, and that would be like a grant. Yeah, so typically I believe that is, we provide the service, and then our grants covers the cost of the fire, shore rescue, and the haul. So, sorry.
That's fee waivers, though, isn't it, or is that actually money changing
I guess
hands?
it's an internal one, the firefighting one, because we're going to pay them the shore rescue, but they use it as a grant request, and then the fee waiver would be the fire hall. To find it here, I'm sorry for the slight delay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do believe they are ineligible because they're a government body, correct? We don't fund other government agencies.
Is that going through it? That's correct, yes, that's from the clerk. So that request, though, to fully have it would be shore-based rescue. It's $2,250 ask, $2,250 project. Do we wish to, I guess, and there is a fee waiver probably in there in addition to that. So do we wish to have that internal transfer of, I guess it's a revenue recognition is essentially what it is. Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but I'd be interested to see what the chief thinks. I always thought it was kind of reasonably good training for the firefighters to get out and to do this, and it shows them out in the community and a lot of exposure to the fact that they're out there helping. And I think almost like if we didn't go out and do it, we would more than likely be called out, you know. So anyway, I'm curious what the chief thinks.
Mr. Robertson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the fire services, our staff do enjoy assisting with that community event. And yes, there is significant value to fire services being on site, especially in high water years. I think the conversation just is how to recognize that the funds that are utilized. I'm not sure how best council wants to recognize that. If it's not in grants and donations, is it just something we provide to the community during a community event? In the past, we decided to go down, have that within grants and donations just to recognize those wages and the use of our facilities for recreation facilities.
So one thing, if council will oblige me, that I found interesting was I'm sure there is a considerable amount of time and resources allocated to preparations for the Williamstown Fair, and it wasn't. So there's some things we do one way and some things we do the other, like, you know, perhaps grading the gravel, all of the benches or that we bring to congregate onto that facility. So it is something to, do we wish to continue acknowledging this one uniquely, and or perhaps we bring in all of them so that we have that cost, or we just say this is a service we provide to the community outside of grants and donations, much like helping move, again, benches to the Williamstown Fair. So I guess I'm looking for some thoughts there. Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's good to recognize the cost, that it's true cost of the township. It's, some days, Ms. Harper's staff are trying to get other things done too when they're planning their, 3 weeks in advance to the Williamstown Fair or in advance of Canada Day, moving things around like that. We're borrowing and stealing benches from other parks and trying to make sure we have all the assets and resources to do that. So I think it should be recognized. Maybe as opposed to a dollar value, we just say it's an in-kind staff work as opposed to a dollar figure. I mean, nothing says that RRCA couldn't spend the $22.50 or whatever the requested amount was to actually pay us for that service. We do have a way of, receiving payment at the township. Not everything has to be free, but it is just a note. Nothing says they're not going to get us. I can't imagine there's another cost-effective way of having that service provided other than the township. So we're probably the only game in town that they could technically pay it, but if we want to provide that service for free or at a reduced rate and be consistent with the rest of our what we've done here tonight, I'd be all right that either way, I guess, having that conversation.
Okay, so in that case, maybe move it to in-kind, because that's how we're kind of attributing everything else to make it there, but do have it there, and then I suppose, I guess something to write down as a, I wouldn't call it, I'm not trying to be rude to the suggestion, it's not the highest of all priorities, but it would be nice to receive something showing perhaps an event like, say, Williamstown Fair, like what the in-kind value is there. Again, we don't need to get overly technical about it. So I don't want to make this a massive project, but it would be interesting to see the value we provide annually that is kind of unknown, similar to if we did this with fire. Fire and the Raised River Canoe Race. Deputy Mayor Lang?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it is great to have it listed there so that we can see it ourselves and the community can see what is, but I don't necessarily want it to come off the $62,000 or whatever we're doing for grants and donation. I like just to see a list of these are the services we're providing in kind, but not part of the actual grants and donation. That's my personal thought.
Okay, so then we'll move it to in-kind, that particular amount, and we'll still provide the service. Okay. So that is, I believe, I'll just quickly go through beyond 21. I'm not seeing any so far. Okay, I believe that is it. Does anybody have a running total that they can provide? Ms. McDonald?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my total currently sits at $56,544. I did have a question I don't think you missed. Just you were discussing with the Friends of the Summerstown Trails reallocating funds for the cost of the outhouses from the grants and donations budget, but currently since that sits in another line item, are you looking for us to increase their grant and then increase therefore the grants and donations line, or are you just wanting that to be recognized next year differently? I just wanted clarification on that. Right now I haven't included the extra $3,000 in this amount, but I can right now. They're at $1,500.
Okay, I think it was to bring it into here. Was that my understanding? So because we are giving them monetary, and they're using that grant donation for a porta potty. So I think unless council disagrees, that should be their grants and donations should be $4,500. That amount that's $3,000, keep it for general operations, I suppose. Is that what you're asking? That we move the $3,000 into grants and donations, so we have $65,000, or staying at $62,000?
I guess I just wanted to clarify because we pay those invoices for the washrooms that are there, so I wanted to make sure if we were going to be giving them the money to then pay for the outhouses, if that was the direction, or if we're going to continue to pay it, but you just want it reflected within that 62.5.
That sounds like a small item to jockey about, but Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think more or less the conversation around that item was that maybe in the future, ahead of next season, we have a conversation whether we wish to continue to pay that or whether that $3,000 comes off becomes a part of the dollar figure. So continue to pay that.
So we'll continue to pay it administratively and then have the conversation perhaps with Recreation or, yes, with whenever next time Mr. Tibby or Mr. LaRue comes, or whoever the president is presently. So with that number, oh, Councillor Jaworski?
I would just suggest, like, for things like that, that like, what staff burden that can be removed should be removed. So if this is, I think it's better for them to handle those things, but I understand if there's already a process, but for the next time, I think, it sounds like it would be better for them to handle the whole thing.
And by them, Summertown Trail, so we just give them whatever money and they can pay. Correct, okay, good. Councillor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think Councillor Bougie brought up a point of, I would assume that falls under, we have a number of porta potties with one supplier that, whether it be the wharf or some of our parks where we're already paying a bill, and this is an additional one on that bill. So we already probably have a decent rate with a local supplier, and it's just a matter of continuing to pay our current bill.
Okay, perfect. So then that is good. What does that number then tally?
So in that case, the number is $56,544.
And that leaves about $8,000 or $6,000 to for in-year requests. Okay. Or we could just cut it off, but it is in the budget. We have so Councillor McDonnell, put it in the pocket. All right. Okay. So that is grants and donations. Thank you everyone for your time. Reminder funding. We checked that box. So consent agenda, or were there any items? I don't believe that were advance pulled, so I'll read the consent agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Be it resolved that Council accepts the items listed on the consent agenda. All those in favor? Carried. And I'll be taking a little bit longer while writing these because one of our motions got to the counties and I looked at my handwriting and it was very poor because I'm always trying to rush it, so I'm going to stop there. Has to be legible. So we have a mover, Deputy Mayor Lang. Can I get a seconder? This is to support the motion to resume the assessment cycle. Oh, yes, the board and committee updates. Forgot that one. That's new, and I got on a roll. So board and committee updates. SDG County Council. I will delegate this one always now to the chair of the SDG counties. Warden Lang.
And he's not ready for that, but anyway, we had a meeting this morning. It went reasonably well, I thought, especially considering there was a new chair with no experience. He got through it in under an hour. No, it's not a race, but at the same time, nobody wants you to waste time. So I don't have much else. You want to add anything else, Mr. Mayor?
No, just if you know anybody who lives on County Road 22, that project's coming along well. It looks like that will be starting to be built. We'll find the funds in a moment. Otherwise, not too much. I believe Mr. Kretche, a local citizen, has looked to donate some land towards us, and that was wonderful. So I don't know exactly the lot of it, but it's a wood lot and a grazing lot, not a grazing lot, a wheat lot, small field. And then North Glengarry, our archivist, Mr. MacDonald, he also donated some land back, which is kind of cool to see. We've been quite successful with that program at the county level as well as at the RRCA. So it's nice to see gifts of land stewardship. Cornwall Regional Airport. Was there a meeting in between?
We have had a meeting, and the majority of we renewed the contracts with our the three. Well, it's two, but the three contracts for the communications and for the manager and the maintenance and cleaning of the airport. Other than that, it was mentioned at the meeting that the public meeting was going to be on tonight, and no one had any concerns. So that was the gist of the meeting.
Thank you. There was no Conservation Authority Board meeting in between our last meeting and this one. Glengarry County Archives, were there any meetings between the last one? No. Oh.
I will just say I happened to stop in Alexandria and use the parking lot and saw Mr. McDonald, the archivist, inside. I stopped in and had a quick chat with him, and he was in the midst of receiving some interesting documents. So that was always nice to see. He was keeping up and showing off some interesting pieces. So if anybody's ever looking for some family lineages, feel free to contact the Glengarry County Archives.
That's a good point. I believe whenever that forest came on, they said he has his documentation to that forest since the 1700s. So not only does he do our official records, he knows his land records quite well too. Norwesters Loyalist Museum.
Yes, thank you, through Mayor McDonald. Last meeting was Monday, December 9th. They've begun to move their meetings earlier as a tool to make it easier to recruit volunteers. However, it meant that I missed the meeting because it was during my work hours. However, I'd say I do have the agenda and the minutes, and the most important item that just to mention as a reminder that they're going to have a hogmanay on Sunday, December 29th.
Thank you. Agricultural Resource Committee,
Had no meeting.
Community Improvement Plan, no meeting. Connectivity Committee, Environment Committee,
No meetings since the last report, I don't think.
okay, that's confirmed from the backside. Heritage Advisory Committee, no meeting. You saw the library board newsletter, that is the year-end thing, so it's there, we've read our agendas, I don't need to highlight it further, because that would have come out, the meeting was November 21st, we've had a meeting since. So we'll move to notice of motions, resume assessment cycle. I have Deputy Mayor Lang moved it, a seconder, Councillor Bougie, and this is where I'm going to take my moment in case it gets on another agenda. Pardon me? Read the bottom, okay, thank you, I get that move. So, and furthermore, I have to read I can't. So there's no preamble, so I have to read the whole thing. Be resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry hereby supports the resolution passed by the municipality of Wawa on November 19th, 2024, and hereby calls upon the Premier to promptly resume the assessment cycle to ensure the stability and predictability of property taxes while the government conducts its review of the property assessment and taxation system or responds with an alternative method for every municipality in Ontario to achieve fair taxation. And furthermore, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, MPP, Nolan Quinn, and the Municipality of Wawa. All those in favor? Carried. And this is just a proclamation, so no mover and seconder. Excellent. I do appreciate the clerk allowed me to put this one on, and last year I said I'd forget about this, and I did, so thank you, Ms. Campo, for remembering it. And to the youth out there and the youthful at heart. Whereas the holiday season brings joy, unity, and spirit of giving to the residents of South Glengarry, and whereas Santa Claus has long been a cherished figure of goodwill embodying the values of generosity and magic for people of all ages, and whereas the Township of South Glengarry prides itself on being a welcoming and festive place committed to facilitating Santa's mission, which is joy, now therefore be it resolved that the airspace over the Township of South Glengarry shall be cleared the evening of December 24th to December 25th to ensure Santa's safe passage, and that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry grants a special permit for low-altitude flight to take place over the township for Santa and his reindeer to make special deliveries in time for the Christmas morning. And circulate it to the airport. let them know. All in favor? Carried. Yes. We're allowing Santa to fly over. Thank you. Wonderful. We'll move to closed session now. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Bougie. Be it resolved that Council convene to closed session at 8:18 p.m. to discuss the following items under Section 239(8)(2) of the Municipal Act SO 2001. 2, a meeting or part of a meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered is K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to negotiations, specifically plan and instruction for negotiations, and C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, specifically acquisition of land. Before calling the vote, it's quite likely that most people don't come on for the nub of our meetings, so we'd just like to wish you a Merry Christmas to everyone or celebrated holiday. And I'm going to borrow Deputy Mayor Lang as a great chair and thank staff, council around the table in our community just for being so amazing. Amazing is a millennial word. So great for the 2024 season. I look forward to what 2025 brings, and those are words borrowed from Deputy Mayor Lang. They're not my originals. Councillor McDonnell, if you wish to add anything.
Is South Glengarry Shop South Glengarry still going on? Do you still have a chance to win a gift card? If you shop local, send us a picture. If so, please do so. But I was just to shut that out. I don't see Miss Haley here to confirm.
Good point. So it is currently going. So as Councilor McNell, shop South Glengarry. Oh, it's not. Sorry. 12 days of Christmas has passed on the shopping spree, but you do get a GST holiday. So still shop local. All those in favor of going in closed session with the motion is read. Carried. We are coming out of closed session, moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor Jaworski. Be it resolved that council rise and reconvene in open session at 8:52 PM without reporting. All those in favor? Carried. Closed session moved by Councillor Jaworski, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Be it resolved that administration be directed to carry out all actions as specified in the closed session minutes. All those in favor? Carried. Confirming bylaw moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Jaworski. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-81 being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council the 16th day of December 2024. All those in favor? Carried. Adjournment moved by Councillor Jaworski, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Be it resolved that the council of the Township of South Glengarry adjourn to the call of the chair at 8:53 PM. All those in favor? Carried. Have a good evening, everyone.